Just testing sound for those online. Director Casely, can you hear us?
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
He gave a thumbs up to the now.
Aiden did? Yeah.
Aiden.
Better check in with David off. I don't believe Andy's on yet. But we will, I'm gonna bite you.
Yeah, you gotta hit 3 places on this computer to stop.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So with that, it is 9:01, and I have the pleasure of calling this meeting to order for the purposes of doing the election of chair and vice chair. So we've received one advance nomination for chair. Director Hanegraaff has nominated Director Watson. And with that, I will call 3 times for nominations from the floor for chair. Calling first time for nominations from the floor.
Can I just clarify, is that nomination already, so seeing if there's others?
Yeah, yes, that nomination is accepted through the advance.
Thank you.
Acceptance process. I don't have to ask for acceptance on that one.
Thank you.
And calling for a second time for nominations from the floor. And a third and final time for nominations for chair. Seeing none, by acclamation, your chair for the year is Director Watson. And moving on to vice chair. We've received no advance nominations for vice chair. So I'll call for nominations from the floor. Director Newell.
Director Lockwood.
Director Lockwood, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'll take it.
Okay, thank you. Calling for a second time for nominations from the floor. Director Tierney.
Aiden McLaren-Cole.
Director McLaren-Cole, do you accept that nomination? You got a thumbs up?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Director DeBoon. And a third and final time for nominations for vice chair. Okay, hearing none, we'll give each candidate 2 minutes to address the board. I tend to go in alphabetical order by last name, and this is as close as you can get. So Director Lockwood.
Thank you. Thank you for the nomination. I appreciate the board and where we are today, and I can say that I'm not on a bunch of committees that are outside of the board, and I would be happy to come back to support the board in going forward for another year and making sure that we're all heard. Yeah, you all had me for, I guess, 2 years. 1 year, 2 years? I don't know. I don't remember. And I would look forward to supporting this again with the municipality lens, as we have a rural lens, to make sure that we are going forward boldly. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Director McLaren-Cole.
Thank you, Stuart. I would be honored to have another year to contribute to the executive. I think we've made some good strides this past year, particularly in terms of refining the way we do meetings, how we have approached the budgeting process, both of which are recommendations that I have brought on behalf of other directors to the board. I'm sorry I can't be there in person today because I'm in Vancouver at UBCM meetings. And I think supporting Chair Watson has been a strength of mine over this year. And those of you who were at the meeting in May know that I can handle a hard meeting with the ostrich situation that we had to deal with. And I would very much appreciate your support for one more year on the executive.
Great, thank you. Wow, succinct. Both of those were under 50 seconds. So we'll move to election by secret ballot. So Mike will pass those out. Director Davidoff, Director Casely, if you can send an email to both myself and to Angela with your vote for vice chair. Thank you. Coming through clearly, I can see.
We wanted to be informed of
That did her. And so.
like from someone here from Marianne. Oh, okay. She did an email. Oh, there she is.
Great teamwork.
Her
Okay.
life. Consider locker her.
And you.
You know, what you read for me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Don't do that music. I didn't accept. I was like. So I have the three online. Again, over.
Neighbor.
Yeah. Don't worry, I can spread. I'll keep the stuff over here. Just get actual.
So.
Bring it on. Yeah. Yeah. I like iPhone. Yeah. Short name. I know. Yeah.
Got all the.
Kind of a weird.
Like they're crooked.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried ready for it. I don't like.
Good job, Mike. Good job.
Yeah.
Maria. Action. Yeah.
Sure. If I commence here, but you didn't do
You're on your job.
I don't need that person.
Oh, right. That's what I'm checking.
There you go.
You sure?
Yes, but I can.
So is your car just on the side of the road, Leah? Yes. No, I'm so sorry, but what incredible Yeah, that's okay.
It's a tie.
Oh, that's
We were just talking about.
I know, we can count, it's a tie. That wasn't the struggle. So we go straight to a hat,
Oh, that's.
wow.
which in this case is a old ballot box. So we've got one ballot from each candidate in the box, and I have the honor of senior vice chair for the year.
And turn the sound back on, we know online what's happening.
Director McLaren, go.
There you go.
We were all just talking about
How
how
that
to
was
break it
gonna
up.
work.
Yeah, well, our procedure bylaw speaks to a tie with 3 candidates where the lowest one drops off and then you re-vote for the remaining 2.
Great.
But for 2, it's straight to this, we can't ask anyone to change their vote by
Right,
voting
exactly.
again. So with that, I'll call for a motion to destroy the ballots. Thank you. All in favor? Those opposed? Carried. And I will pass it on to Chair Watson. Thank you.
Thank you. So just before I go into thank you and the little speeches we might give, I'm actually gonna ask, because Vice Chair McLaren Co is not here. I'm gonna ask our other executive member, Rural Affairs Chair, Gary Jackman, to come up and be my vice for the day.
I can do.
So just as he's
Yes.
moving, another few minutes, but while Director Jackman moves to the front. I think this is the only meeting McLaren Co has missed, so. I forgot to tell you, I pre-planned if this was the way it worked, that Gary would step in for you.
Thanks, Amy.
Oh, no, I gotta share space, so.
No, this one's from here.
All right. Okay, you good? All right. So to the board, my fellow colleagues, thank you. I am sincerely honored to continue to represent you and lead this board into continuously tumultuous times. However, I do want to really acknowledge how much work we've done in this past year and how incredible it is to see us have very different views and understandings and yet work as a team. I hope that we can continue that trajectory. This is the last year of this term. And so we do end up getting into what they call the silly season about halfway through. But I think we are all here for the reasons of our community. And I think that intention will continue for us to keep doing the best we can. And I will be here for you. Should anything arise, you know how to get a hold of me. So thank you for your support. And do let me know when I can help you out. Thank you. McLaren Co, do you want to go ahead with your?
Sure. Thanks, Chair. I just want to say, mostly echo your comments. Appreciate the support and the coin flip that worked in my favor there. And I just want to express my gratitude and appreciation for what we have accomplished over the past 3 years. And I'm looking forward to this last year of this term. And much like you said, Chair, I'm here to support you, the rest of the directors in this last year as we ramp up for whatever happens in the next term. And yeah, it's an interesting time to be doing this kind of work. So again, thanks for the support, and I'm here to support you as well. So reach out anytime as well. So thanks, Chair.
Thank you, guys. All right then, folks, let's continue on. I'm gonna start now with acknowledging and respecting the Indigenous people within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. And I will take a motion to adopt today's agenda with the addenda included. Thank you, Hewitt Cunningham. Any corrections, edits? I need a pen. How do I leave my pen in all of this? Thank you. Oh, it's right beside me.
Oh,
We're good on the agenda.
Chair,
Sorry.
just
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't put it in chat. I did send in a director's notice of motion. Will that be something that will be added later?
Angela has sent you an email regarding how that will work, so you can just check your email for that.
Okay, sorry. Then I must have missed it. Thank you, Chair.
She just did it, so it's all good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
No further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And adoption of the minutes from October. Thank you, Maine. Lockwood, any corrections? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, CAO, you have some introductions.
Sure. So through the chair, we had a little bit of a shift in the building inspection department. As I mentioned last month, Stephen Jones took a role with the city of Castlegar. So Graham Gordon, who was previously a plan checker, had moved into a building inspection or a building and plumbing official role. Dan Simonoff's accepted a role for a currently vacant position, which is a senior building official. So that doesn't change the head count in building inspection. We'll just have the position that he's moving away from remain vacant. And he's moving into more of a supervisory role to support Eric. Cliff Jameson joins us for a 6-month term in HR. We had a long-term leave in HR this year, and a lot of projects are falling behind. So we're trying to take advantage of some of those salary savings and get some projects moving along. So Cliff's got some experience in some areas that Connie needs some help in. And then finally, not on the agenda, but I just wanted to make you aware, with Tristan leaving our regional fire chief position, I've appointed Dan Sagan to a temporary role as the general manager of fire and emergency services. So he will oversee fire services and emergency management. He'll kind of step away from sustainability for the time being. I think the workload for sustainability over the next 4 to 6 months isn't going to be too onerous. We actually have Paris taking a sabbatical for a few months at the beginning of 2026 as well. So the workload there, I think, can be something that we can manage without Dan's supervision there and just support from Sangita.
Thank you, Director Cunningham.
Thank you. Will you be working with Dan on budget?
Through the chair, it depends on when that budget meeting is. I believe he'll support after Tristan is gone. His last day in the office is November 20th. But I know that they've scheduled a lot of them and they've been quite busy. Okay. So it just depends when that's scheduled. Yeah. But that being said, the Deputy Chief Stan Zayak and Grant Hume are the primary contacts for budgets. I know Tristan does support them, but not having Tristan there shouldn't be a hindrance.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you so very much. So we have a delegation today. Very happy to always welcome Damon from the Food Policy Council back to our table after a very busy and active and wonderful Basin Summit. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And over to you, Damon.
Okay. What are these?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Damon Chenard. As you know, I'm the Executive Director of what is known as the Central Community Food Policy Council, which we now are also going by the Community Food Council. Quick presentation overview. We're going to look at some of our highlights from 2025. Quickly do a high-level look at our impact and alignment with the RDCK and review our gaps, opportunities, and priorities for 2026. And we'll quickly jump through proposal I'm looking to put in the food boundary food procurement network in 2026. So we have a number of exciting highlights from our 2025 council meetings and our council in general. We have 4 council meetings brought together more than 40 regional food leaders this year and local government representatives and community partners. These gatherings continue to support regional momentum, knowledge sharing, trust building, and opportunities to identify collaboration and regional initiatives. Of those 4 meetings, we had 3 virtual council meetings, which held a range of engaging topics that you can see listed there. And we had 1 in-person meeting in Salmo this year for our AGM, where we held some exercises and workshops, did a tour of the RDCK composting facility, which was extremely enlightening, and there's a group of us sitting outside of the first compost pile that's produced at the site there. We elected 3 new board members this year, which I just want to highlight come from a range across the RDCK, from Crampton, Newcastle, and the Spokane Valley. And with the increased support this year, we've been able to update and strengthen our communications. We were able to hire a new communications coordinator to help provide support with comms and engagement efforts. And the organization adopted its new public-facing name, the Cooking Food Council, and developed new branding materials to the company. So for, one of our big highlights this year was really the increased ability to deepen our partner engagement. And this really hit new levels. Much of the council's impact happens through a number of one-on-one and small group conversations. Our capacity to engage at this level has been instrumental in strengthening our ability to build trust and understanding as a regional partner within Central Kootenay and beyond. Throughout 2025, we met regularly with stakeholders to explore alignment, share opportunities, and identify needs. These engagements vary across a large cross-section of regional and community representatives and food stakeholders. Additionally, we focus to ensure that our work is aligning with broader efforts taking place in other parts of the Southeast Interior by taking part in opportunities for networking and collaboration with our outer region community organization for provincial bodies. Engagements are directly translating into new partnerships and forming priorities moving forward. I'm not going to run through all the partners there, but I think you guys have more in front of you. So, we also increased our unique partner engagements to over 30 plus. This past year has marked a significant increase in our overall reach within and beyond the Central Kootenays. This has been achieved also through 8 regional initiatives, which you can see the yellow circle kind of highlighted just like that these impact the entire Central Kootenay. And we've been participating in over 20 local engagements this year. With our strengthening capacity, project momentum, and deepening partnerships, we've broadened our impact and engagement within the Central Kootenay while also beginning to represent the region's needs and opportunities on a broader scale. One of the ongoing and emerging initiatives that the Kootenay Food Council has coordinated this year are the 8th annual Kootenay Farm and Food Directory, the launching of the Kootenay Boundary Food Procurement Network, which is a collaboration with the Boundary Community Ventures Association and the Trail Skills Center, and it's a network that connects food access organizations and institutional buyers to unlock new opportunities in collective procurement, food recovery, and regional distribution capacity. The Grow and Connect and the Kootenay Pilot, which we highlighted here a couple years ago, continues to make advancements. This year, it has formed as its own nonprofit association called the Grow and Connect Association now, and it will continue advancing the development of a regional logistics software, networking and aggregation tools, and consulting services now. The Kootenay Food Council will continue to serve as a primary member role in the new association. For policy and research, we co-produced the summary report, The Role of BC Food Hubs in a Resilient Food System. We also shared a policy brief with provincial ministries and have 2 more papers in the queue further elaborating on our findings. New research projects and collaborations are in the works, so stay tuned. In our post-wildfire engagements, in early 2025, we identified the need for more agricultural liaisons in the region. We advocated for and supported outreach for additional agricultural liaison positions across the RDCK, resulting in 4 new liaisons trained with localized expertise and context. Our work around emergency preparedness and resiliency has been an ongoing engagement with community partners in the RDCK, EOC, and USF services. Our goal is to continue being a voice for local food systems by supporting business and organizational continuity and community resilience during emergencies. Part of this includes engagement with BC Wildfire as well to enable community food hubs to provide food services to staff during food emergencies. And we're working with them right now on producing vendor agreement opportunities for food hubs across the region. Lastly, we have been advancing the development of the RDCK Food Systems Report Card. This has been a collaboration with community stakeholders, and RDCK staff on an indicator framework and drafted implementation plan to track progress, sentiment, and evolving priorities in the regional food system. Through the RDCK support, the Kootenay Food Council is looking to advance the district priorities in climate and emergency resilience, economic development, environmental stewardship, and community well-being. The advancements made across these priorities can be directly attributed to the increased support in 2025. And due to time, I won't dive into all of these, but we'll let you guys review those in the report. While the council has made significant strides in reach and impact in 2025, several gaps and opportunities do remain. We plan to continue addressing these through the following 2026 key priorities. A, regional procurement and food recovery coordination, waste reduction and circular food systems, continued collaboration, development, and investment in growing Connect Association platform success and uptake, community food systems report card implementation, emergency food system preparedness and recovery, ongoing work in our communications and network engagement. These next steps will continue to align closely with the RDCK strategic priorities and have formed the foundation of the 2026 scope of work and funding request. With continued support, by the end of 2026, the Community Food Council anticipates a series of outcomes that will significantly deepen our work to build a more vibrant, resilient, and just regional food system. I'm going to jump in quickly now on a 3-year project proposal we're looking to advance called the Community Food Procurement Network. Now, to avoid any confusion, I'm identifying this request as the Community Food Procurement Network, which is underneath this other project. I thought I would be able to read off of this, but I'm having a little trouble. I might actually need to grab my computer here, but oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so the Cooney Boundary Food Procurement Network was initiated under the United Way's Collaborative Food Impact Program. It's a 6-month pilot that we're halfway through right now. And it's a cross-regional partnership with those partners I identified earlier, the Trail Skills Center, the Boundary Community Ventures Association, and the Community Food Council. Our goal is to strengthen coordination and collaboration across our regional food system. The objectives are to identify food needs for community food access organizations and institutions, connect those needs with surplus food and purchasing opportunities, improve access to fresh local food, reduce waste and increase purchasing power, and create new market pathways for local producers. This project is also leveraging the growing food software, developing local existing infrastructure, and public-private partnerships. Now, part of the problem behind this and how we ended up here is that despite existing programs in our communities which are doing fabulous work, there's a lot of gaps and inefficiencies that remain. So just to quickly summarize, there's surplus food rarely moves beyond local communities. Recovered food is under-processed, and this reduces its shelf life opportunity. Inconsistent pickups and limited storage lead to spoilage. Surplus includes mix of usable and unusable food. Packaging waste complicates composting and diversion in programs and institutions like the school food programs and our food access programs. They're purchasing food individually at higher cost from local large corporate grocers. This results in lost food to waste streams, added cost to nonprofits, and missed regional opportunities. The solution we're working on here is a coordinated multi-year initiative to strengthen food recovery, redistribution, and local food access by exploring and understanding local grocery and agricultural waste, by identifying opportunities to improve edibility and processing pathways, build recovery and redistribution systems. And this looks like accessing, staging, And so, yeah, this looks like taking inventory of various staging points that are already there, warehousing, logistic partnerships, improving equity and distribution. What we've noticed is certain communities have excess and other communities rarely get fresh local food delivered to them. And where this is moving, and while this project is looks like a linear process, it's actually multifaceted and happening in many different ways, which we're trying to bring together under a social enterprise model development process, which is looking to create a sustainable business framework to connect recovery and purchasing for community food access programs and community and school food programs. And by leveraging these opportunities for purchasing, we see a tremendous opportunity to open up the movement of recovered foods and being able to kind of work off that market potential to also recirculate funds back into the community to address some of these small things like the limits that we have in recovering a lot of food locally that's going to waste. And so this concept of social enterprise model is where we're hoping to get to in the near future. There's a number of expected outcomes we hope to see: reduction in food waste entering the RDCK waste stream, stabilized supply for community food programs in schools, reduce burden on nonprofits, increased cross-sector collaboration in circular economy enterprises within logistics and processing, better environmental outcomes and regional food equity. There are comparables to a project like this in the regional district of Beauty Boundary. They've been providing an annual contribution of $20,000 per Boundary Community Ventures Association annually to their Boundary Food Security Network. This is a modest amount, but it's allowed them. This consistent investment has enabled significant progress in cross-sector collaboration, food recovery, and market coordination. And we feel like a similar level of support from the RDCK would enable comparable advancement in the central food chain, building a stronger foundation for waste diversion, equitable food distribution, and improved economic development pathways to local food. This is just a sort of high-level summary of what we imagine the budget would look like in the first year. It's an evolving project that will be adapted over the years, but and one thing I do want to really highlight here is that while there's funding similar to this, that funding in the RDKB, we're really looking at like developing these systems. So while the project is spanning multiple regional districts, what we're asking for here is really to do the deeper work on the central piece. And then these funds would be leveraged. This is an ongoing project, or already other funding streams going in. We've already made applications to REDIP, and we're looking at working with the Ministry of Education on developing these enterprise models. This project is also taking place at a larger regional scale too. We have partners working across the Okanagan and East Kootenays. And so this concept of collective purchasing and leveraging buying power is going to be a regional movement, not just a localized one. In conclusion, this project work back to the several RDCK priorities and the $20,000 investment positions the Food Council to act as a key partner in turning food waste into value, ensuring good food reaches those who need it most, and to strengthen the local food economy by consolidating new market opportunities. Sorry, that's off on my two computers here. Thank you, everyone, for your support and your time. And yeah, if you have any questions, no.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have a few questions. Directors, we do have an item later on the agenda regarding a request that was put in by staff, so we can have a lot more discussion at that time now. But if you have specific questions for Damon, this is where we can ask them. So we will start with Director Newell.
Yeah, hi, Damon. Coincidentally, yesterday I spoke with Matt Norson, our organics coordinator, and Tom Thompson, the Chamber of Commerce, and I just wonder how you fit with those, our attempt to divert the organics and your program that you were talking about, or is there an interface?
Yeah. Well, so Matt and I have talked several times this year, and the conversations are ongoing. I think there's a lot of opportunity to not only address what is, so we have a couple different issues. One is that there isn't enough ability to pull all the food, say, out of an area like Preston, or even find ways to process, all the old apples anymore in all these communities with a lot of that funding. But more specifically to sort of some of the issues that I see with my conversations that I've had with Matt is, well, vegetables and like fresh foods are being diverted and finding a place. Quite often what the challenge is like packaged foods, and we need new solutions for these types of things, because a lot of that packaged food sounds like it's ending up still in the landfills, or we're also not putting maximum use to these products anymore. So they may get diverted. I'm just going to paint a bit of a picture. I used to be a farmer, and so quite often I would receive these garbage bags full of recovered food, and it would be full of twist ties, elastics, plastic bags, and we load that all on the farmers. And so what we're seeing in the RDKB is the process where that food lands somewhere first, it gets sorted and hydrated essentially, and then it gets distributed. So that food that needs to go, that is good for farmers, if they're getting it and they can just dump it, they're not throwing a bunch of garbage on their property anymore. And so these types of systems, I'm not saying that's exactly what we're committed to right yet, but we got to look at what this process is going to be. We haven't even been able to develop a system or explore what this is going to look like, and that's what we're trying to get to here. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Woodward.
Thank you, to the chair. When you talk about this program, I see in my head a lot of rolling things, like you're gonna have trucks, refrigeration, that kind of like hardware.
Yeah.
And maybe this is too early in the process, but is that something that you're?
We're already working on that. Yeah. So in some of the pilot stage we're in right now with the procurement network is and because we've also been coming out of this with growing connect, where we've been sort of mapping and building these relationships and sort of getting an understanding of where infrastructure is and where the fleets are. We see a strong relationship opportunity that we're starting to explore with Catholic Warehousing. Catholic Warehousing is on a downward trend right now. Like financially, they've seen their business drop a significant amount, and so we've been looking at utilizing their warehousing space and also leveraging their existing fleet capacity, which is the only independent cold chain supplier running through the region. So we can be working with central hubs like that. We also have the Preston area where the food hub there is working. We're still trying to find that one bridge from Preston. That's the biggest challenge right now, is the pass from Preston to say Castlegar. And so that's the biggest piece that needs to be solved here. But between the school food programs, the existing infrastructure that's in place, the picture is starting to get painted. The challenge is always human factor, so that's what we're still working with. And we're lucky to have good partnerships with Catholic Warehousing at this point. They've been very open-minded and conversational, and we have a back and forth process. So we're just getting to the stage right now where we're looking at buying a whole bunch of bulk apples and then sharing those out with the schools, starting to map the challenges of these processes. So yeah, so that's there. There's lots of other fleets and small fleets of vehicles that are moving that we're we can reach out to for like last mile and whatnot. But again, this process is there's a lot of processes that need to take place in individual communities to continue this on. But the goal is always to use the existing infrastructure first.
Thank you. No, sorry, we're running out of time.
Thank you.
Damon's very approachable, and you can reach out to him anytime. I do have one more on the speakers list. We're out of time, but I want to clarify one thing that could take a bit of time to understand.
Yeah.
One, and that is that your request in your presentation is for 20,000, which is for a project. We have a staff report later requesting 30,000, which I believe is operations.
Yeah.
So can you just clarify? There's two asks.
So the first part of my presentation was just sort of going over the core funding. So there's been core funding of $15,000 historically up until last year. I can't explain how exactly it got branched out. It's under S100.
Yeah, that's okay. That's our job.
Something.
Yeah.
But last year we had requested an increase to $30,000 a year, hence the report just being we are making good use of that money. When it comes to doing some of this deeper work in these other projects, those funds, that $30,000 a year gets used pretty quickly on just the base work. So this extra work is looking to kind of like leverage like it's more of a specific project request. And so we're looking to use these funds to leverage against other funding opportunities and to do this more deeper systematic work.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Maine, I'm going to allow you to ask your question.
Yeah.
And then we'll close.
It really is a quick question. Under your networking, you have a number of organizations listed. My question is the Fire Week Hub in New Denver part of?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fire Week Hub in New Denver is Mickey has been a longstanding council member of ours and our meetings. When it comes to aggregation, I know they're putting in a new cold storage or storage space that we're looking at integrating into the Grow Connect platform and working with them because it's going to be a very critical point of distribution opportunity there. And then we're also through this procurement network, we're in conversation with the local food bank there as well.
Just a very quick.
I didn't allow other stuff on the case. I'm sorry. I have to be careful. We actually have two other presentations today, not at this time, so do bear with me as I keep us moving. Thank you so much, Damon. I do want to acknowledge that the food systems work in this region over the past 20 to 30 years has grown incredibly. And it's been great to watch the Policy Council, which was initiated by this board in 2 other districts. So great work, really good stuff. I will follow up with you separately in terms of the 2 different asks and how we deal with those. So we'll address your operational one today in the agenda. The other one, I'll come back to you the process for that.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. All right, directors, we will keep moving along. We're all good. And did you know we had Selznick for about 30 seconds and then he left. So I'm not sure if you're watching that.
Yeah.
She shared the presentation, right?
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to know. On the chat, it says when he came in and came out, but I told Stuart he was here and then he left right away. So I don't know if he's back. I don't think so. Well, he left. And so I don't know if someone wants to email Director Selznick and ask if he's trying to connect. Thank you, Teresa. Okay. All right, Brian Dell, Commission minute. Over to you.
That's me. We have 2 recommendations from the Commission Management meeting. They're pretty minor items, but they impact the approved scheduled rentals, so they're here. They're both all vote weighted, and so I moved to both of them as a block as listed in the agenda.
We have a second. Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, Commission. Director McFadden's still in our meeting. Does someone want to take these? She's in another meeting. Yeah, she'll be back. Director,
I can
please.
read it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
We believe in you. We got this.
This is an all vote that the board approved 4 operating sessions for ice arenas as follows, and it shows as listed.
Thank you. Second, further discussion? Nope, good. Thank you so much. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Go ahead, Director Newell.
That all vote that the board directs staff to include spring and summer ice rental rates in the upcoming 2026 fees and charges review, and further that rates for ice using during these seasons be set at prime time level.
Second, thank you. Lockwood, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And finally, all vote that the board directs staff to apply a non-prime time rate for adult ice rentals at Castlegar where appropriate, and further the schedule will be updated.
Thank you. Second, thank you, Hanegraaff. Discussion? With that? We're good. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Right on time.
Right on time. We just went through the all rec minutes, so good job. Thank you, Director Newell. Rec Commission number 6, New Denver Silverton, who would like to thank you, Popoff. Go ahead.
Yeah, that the board approved a payment of the following grants from the Recreation number 6, New Denver, Silverton, and Area Service 229 2025 budget. Slocan Lake Arts Council $900, West Gooten Football Club $2,000, Silverton Community Club $600, Slocan Lake Golf Club $263, North Slocan Trail Society $1,000, the CERN Parent Advisory Committee $1,500, Valhalla Fine Arts Society $1,000, Slocan Lake Purdue Learning Society $487.
We have a second. Thank you, Maine. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Participants only. Creston Valley participants only. Director DeBoon.
First motion is that the board approve the payment of the following grants from the recreation facility president in area of B and C and defined day service S24/2025 budget. Town of Preston, $5,000 for the Christmas parade.
So a second. Thank you, Jackman. Discussion. Participants only. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And you have another one there. Go ahead.
And Director Vandenberg be delegated to the Crescent Valley Public Library Board as a non-voting member, with the provision that he submit frequent posted reports.
I'll second the first part of that.
Thank you. Can I just ask procedurally, we usually do appointments. And so does this land in a different way, or is this going to get where it needs to get, Ange?
No, make notes,
Okay,
but it really, doesn't affect us.
okay, good, thank you. So it's an appointment, that's technically what it is, just clarifying. Okay, further discussion? I look forward to your book reports. This is all votes. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Remember book reports? Wow.
Reports of book.
Yeah, called our agenda now. Joint Resource Recovery Committee, Director Popoff, you chaired that yesterday. You want to go ahead? And you don't have to read all the motions. You can do the general if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you. The first recommendation that the board approve RDCK extend the current prison service agreement with GFL Environmental and with costs to be paid from Service 188 Refuse Disposal West Region.
Do you have a second? Thank you, Director Main. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The second recommendation, all vote, that the board send a letter of concern to the Ministry of Environment and Parks regarding the proposed new fees under the Environmental Management Act.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. Director Davidoff, go ahead.
Yes, Chair, I will be adding a director's motion, just opposing, it's a director's motion that will not deal with today, obviously, with respect to further action on this item.
Thank you. Further discussion? With that?
That is director's motion.
No, his director's motion can't be in the middle of a motion. It'll be at director's motions. It'll just be a notice of motion with the title, and then next month we'll see the motion.
No, a director can, through the chair, director can put a notice of motion on the table at any point during the agenda. There's no section.
But we have a motion on the
Yeah,
table
that's
right
fine.
now.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying it doesn't have to wait till the director's motion section.
Oh, that's
Director
good.
can put a notice of motion on the table at any time.
Okay, then let's finish this and we asked him to do that.
Okay. You can put it any time.
Okay, we got it. Thank you. So on this motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The next recommendation, all vote again, and that the board approve an amendment to a 2025 year of 2025 to 2029 financial plan as stated in the agenda.
Second?
Leave it up till it's his hand up.
Woodward, thank you. I'm just gonna stick to what's on our agenda right now. We can do a notice of motion when we get to that point. It's too confusing to start throwing other motions in here right now. I'm just gonna focus on the motion right now, which is East Sub-Region, that the board approve an amendment. Woodward, you seconded that. On that motion, Director Davidoff, do you have a question on this motion?
No, on the next one, Chair.
Okay, thank you. It's confusing when you put your hand up on a different motion. On this one, further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The next recommendation is another letter that the board send a letter to the Ministry of Environment and Parks as drafted, requesting an amendment to the recycling regulation for the inclusion of mattresses and foundations.
We have a second. Thank you. Director Davidoff.
Yes, Chair, and I've submitted a draft motion that will be considered by our FCM representatives and crafted and will be presented at our next board meeting with respect to our opposition to this.
Thank you. And are you able to take your hand down so it doesn't?
Yeah, I just have a point of order, if that's okay, Chair.
Is it on this item?
No, it's on what the CAO stated earlier. I was informed that okay, I'll wait till the director's motions. It doesn't matter. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. On this motion, further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And number 5, go ahead, Director Popoff.
The next recommendation is, again, another letter, that the board send a letter to Environment and Climate Change Canada as drafted regarding the Federal Plastics Registry's new reporting audit requirements and costs.
Thank you. So, seconded. And Director Davidoff, I just want to clarify, this is the one that you're asking for support from your FCM partners with.
Yes, that's correct. And they have everything that they need to start their work. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The only procedural note I'll make is that it should probably go to joint in December and then it can come to board the very next day, but it'd be good to have that discussion with joint staff. Okay. Further discussion on this motion? Good, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Memberships and appointments. 6.2.1, we have a couple appointments there. Who would like to move that motion?
Move.
Thank you, Woodward. Do we have a second? Thank you, Jackman. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Nelson Public Library Area E. Do you want to move that motion, Director Brown? Thank you. Second. Thank you, Hanegraaff. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have 2 correspondences. Does anyone want to pull either one? Director Newell.
From Andrew.
For 7.1. Go ahead.
Can't remember how we might, to the chair, how we might handle this report.
There's a director's motion from Director Page.
Oh, got it.
Looking
Okay,
to
good.
support this, so we can, if you want to talk about the letter here, you can, or you can also reference it when we get to Director Page's motion. Jackman?
I'm going to pull 7.2.
Oh, yeah.
I have a conflict of interest.
Oh,
7.2.
okay, you want to declare conflict and then Jackman will go ahead.
So I agree, I'm going to declare that I'm not entitled to take a discussion or vote on this next item of business. On the meeting agenda, that is item 7.2. By reason of my company's involvement with this project. So I have a financial benefit here, and that I wish to leave meeting at the time and request that minutes record my meeting and meeting my meeting for reasons stated.
Thanks, Director Graham. We'll just wait a moment while he leaves the meeting. What's that? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, you may go ahead with your.
Thank you. So Grosvenor Harbor is in Area A, but they provide a service to visitors as well as many residents from A, B, C, and Town of Preston. We've tried several times for major grant funding to keep that aging infrastructure in good shape. It is a large marina, the only large marina on that end of the lake. And so I would ask that the board write a letter of support for this project. It seems more important than me writing a letter myself. And if we have 3 or more directors writing a letter, it comes to the board. So I would just ask the board write a letter of support. It gets fairly time sensitive. We went over it in general.
You did. So you're moving that motion that we write a letter of support for this harbor.
Board letter.
Thank you. Is there a second? Maine, thank you. Discussion, Vandenberg.
Second.
Oh, okay, sorry. We already have the templated letter. I recall we talked about that. Okay, so we know what it needs to say. It's just a letter of support. We're not applying for them. Further discussion on the item. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Jesse, could you let Director Graham know that she can come back? Thank you. Thank you. So 8.1 and 8.2 were pulled at this time. They're going to come back after inspector approval. Is that correct, Anne? So there's no items there?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you.
Chair, just a question on the process here.
On bylaws? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so why they were pulled, and why were they pulled?
They need inspector approval before we adopt them. So they've gone to the ministry and just indicated that. Do you want to repeat that, Anne, or anything I'm missing, or Stuart?
Yes. Yeah, the 2 bylaws, we have a few more steps that we need to take. And I realized after putting up the agenda that we needed to take the step to bring it to the ministry. And we haven't done that yet, so that has to happen before we can bring it forward for adoption.
Okay, yeah,
I should have known in the first place.
Thank you. Do you have a supplemental, or you got that?
no, I just want to clarify the confusion about what occurred, and staff has explained what has occurred, and I guess we will see these at a later date, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are on 9.1.1, the Columbia Basin Wildfire Grant. We do have Nora on the line who wrote the report. Really good report. Nora, is there anything you want to add to your report or summarize, or just go to questions?
Yeah, through the chair, I just wanted to add that for the prescription and field treatment portion of the grant, these are proposed treatment units that were identified in the CWRP updates for the electoral areas. CBT is quite restrictive on what the funding is for, so it's not for removal of any merchantable timber. It's for demonstration type units that are around 10 hectares or less. And the first phase in this process, if we're successful with funding, would be for prescription development. So for these different units at that time, there would be community and stakeholder consultation in terms of recreational, ecological, First Nations, other values, and engagement of the elected officials at that time to ensure that we develop prescriptions that are a fit for the unit before any treatment occurs.
Thank you. Can you put McFadden on the list? And CWRP, just so we're aware, Community Wildfire Resiliency Plans. Thank you. So I have McFadden and then Matt Vandenberg. Go ahead, Director McFadden.
Thank you, Chair. Great program. I'm not opposed necessarily to the funding. My only concern is wondering why we've gone with hiring a full-time term position rather than maybe using a contractor or something. My concern comes from as soon as you hire someone for a position, it seems very difficult for this board then to let them go with the term position and done. And I want to make sure that we've thought through those positions. So I'm just wondering what the decision was to go this direction rather than do the same work, but maybe do it at contractor work or some other way where they don't become an employee of the RDCK. And then just curious as to where you landed there.
Yeah, through the chair, we feel that we would be better able to develop the programming and implementation of the programming if it is an internal position. But the intent here is to develop resiliency and programming that can be utilized for youth throughout the region, but not to sort of own that programming on a go-forward basis, more to ensure that different groups that are doing this work have those tools on a go-forward basis. And then hopefully it would be something like the Fire Smart Coordinator, which is also grant funded, that could then continue to carry that program once it's built.
Follow up. So is your thought process then that this beginning funding of this position, that the hope is that you'll continue, this position will continue past the 18 months and then the RDCK will absorb that new employee? Or because Fire Smart is a grant that you get every year to run that program. So are you just trying to understand what you mean by continuing on if this employee is anticipated to continue to be an employee at RDCK past that 18 months?
So we would, the intent would be to have a Fire Smart Youth educator for 18 months to build and deliver this programming, which is currently not existent in the region. And then to have it hopefully as a program that would be mostly standalone and that we would continue to support sort of through other existing grant funding and grant funded positions. So we're not looking to add a position that continues past the 18-month year.
Thank you. Director Vandenberg.
Thank you, through the chair. So I would like to touch on the prescription and fuel treatment development. So I understand, Nora, you're saying that we as directors will have some input in areas that are in our backyard area C, for example, Foster Road, 8.4 hectares. Not sure how you decided that ought to be a potential for a prescribed area. I would like to know that. And I don't know how you will engage in there. I'd be interested in knowing that. But then thirdly, I would like to know how do you tender out the work? Who does the work? And how is that determined?
So in terms of determining the treatment unit, through the chair, it is priority or proposed treatment units that are in the community wildfire resiliency plans, and then aligning what would be a fit for the funding. So some of the units are quite large. We went down from highest to lowest priority. So where we could find a high priority fit, we went with that. We met with BC Wildfire and Selkirk Resource District staff to discuss the units, and then also ensured that the licensee or land manager was also in concurrence with the work occurring where it is their tenure. So in this case, it was Canfor's tenure. So that was sort of how we determined which units to put forward and to propose. In terms of the work, it'll go to requests to RFP for both for the prescription stage as well as for the management of the treatment stage and then tendering of the individual treatment units. And the prescribing forester would then work with RD staff to ensure outreach when the prescription is being developed, to ensure that the community has input based on the uses and concerns around that unit.
Supplemental, thank you for that. And will we be notified at that point in time when the RFP is to be let out?
I would actually defer there to CEO Horn. We don't usually notify elected officials when we tender an RFP, but we would definitely once the prescription work is being started.
Yeah, Chair, that's correct. We wouldn't normally make a note of it to the elected officials when we're tendering regular business like this.
Director Weatherhead.
Thank you, through the chair to Nora. Just a question on how the areas themselves were prioritized. You may have said something here and I may have missed it. How it was determined which area in which area.
Yeah, through the chair. So when the community wildfire resiliency plans were renewed, the forester that was engaged there would have worked through reviewing the units, either new units being brought forward, proposed treatment units, or existing proposed treatment units. Reviewed those further with BC Wildfire and Selkirk Resource District staff. And so those are the units that are in our community wildfire resiliency plans. And then those have received different prioritizations. And then further for this funding, it was locating units that were of a size that were a fit, where we were not seeking to remove merchantable timber, that were not parkland, and that were a good fit for demonstration type units.
So I think because we've had that question a few times, I just want to capture it. So the first requirement was, is it in the CWRP, which is the resiliency plan that identifies high-risk areas? The second was, does it meet the grant funding criteria? And third, I believe, was review with Selkirk and BC Wildfire Service to ensure it met their needs. Is that correct, Nora?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. I had the same question, so I just thought I'd summarize it for us because Nora's had that one probably 5 times now. But good. Takes a while to figure this stuff out. Director Lockwood.
Thank you, and through the chair, the only question I have is I've read through the report twice. It states total of 10 hectares or less, although in some of the ones under number 3 is greater than 10 hectares.
Yeah, through the chair, we were provided guidance by the CBT grant advisor that it would be feasible to put forward a larger partial with rationale as long as it's close to that 10 hectare size.
Oh,
and
okay.
And then further, so while they are looking for the 10 hectare piece, and that is the limiting factor, also when we go to prescription development, there will likely be leave areas that will reduce the size of the actual treatment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jackman.
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation as per the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you, Woodward. Further discussion. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Nora. Paris came in the room. We have the Invasive Species Council annual request. Do you have any further summary you want to give to your report, or just open up for questions? Okay, I do have several questions on this one, but I'll open it up to the floor. All right. So I did want to note the information when we have two external groups that we've been funding. One is the Food Policy Council, one is Invasive Species, in terms of what's on this agenda. The Food Policy Council provided extensive information regarding what they were doing, but I do have to say that it then made me go back to the CCIS request and note that we haven't seen minutes from those committee meetings, which they're not an RDCK committee, but they are one we requested. So a little bit more meat to what they're requesting would be helpful. So let me just go to my questions. What is the total budget and how much comes from other orders of government is one question. I did want to note that when we put in this is my other piece, and this is for you, Paris. When we put in a report that the resolution to be endorsed, it's not quite accurate. We need to do resolution to be considered. We're not endorsing it until we've considered it. So I just think we need to be careful about that language because it just assumes we will endorse it. So the question just on the budget, do we have an idea of the whole budget and what comes from other orders of government?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I vote. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have a speakers list?
Vandenberg.
Okay, Vandenberg, go ahead.
Great, thank you. I'm familiar with this group because I'm one of the members that sits on the committee. And I can, to the chair's comments in terms of funding, I'm going to go back to our terms of reference that we developed in December 2024 and put forward in January 2025. We do have partners from RDCK, and during those conversations, we discussed their ability to help in that funding. And so I think this is that period of time which we could take that opportunity to reach out to them to see if they feel there's value as being part of the group and what their funding commitment could be. With that said, I would be more inclined to defer this to December, and so till we have those conversations to find out what financial offering that they could come forward if they at all. Right now it's a call for $15,000 to run the program. And we did spend time talking about that back on the terms of reference conversation. So that's what's in my mind on this at this point.
So I'll hold go ahead. Well, I'll just hold your motion to refer. We'll go through the speakers, and then if that's what we do, I'll come back to you to refer it. Go ahead, Paris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that specifically. And so, yes, there has been an ongoing request because RDCK does participate in the working group to for them to contribute financially. And that request is only from staff to staff, so not through me, but through Lori, who's the executive director of CCIS, through RDCK staff. At this time, they haven't brought forward a motion. They are in discussion of best how to do that. And CCIS is covering the cost of their participation on the.
Can I go through? I'll go through the rest of the speakers list and then come back to you, Director Vandenberg, for a referral and any other further. Is that okay? Jackman.
Yeah, thanks. Through the chair. So part of initially what I thought a good value was that we are responsible for invasive species control at, our water treatment plants and our parks, our water halls, a lot of our transfer stations even, and there are issues. And so we're funding partly educating our staff, what we need to do, what we need to be aware of, whether that's, I think, being contracted, not necessarily the work being done by our own staff. But after a year or two, that should be diminished because we don't have 100% turnover staff, so you don't need the same education. So wondering if maybe less focus needs to be put on educating our staff, although I realize the public is still out there. Then the second one, when Chair Watson asked about other sources of funding, are not some of our services funding invasive species? And so is that only for physical works in the field, contract work? Or is some of that funding from, say, a water system or a fire hall or whatever from each of those services, is some of that also supporting any of the council's work?
Through the chair, that funding is specifically related to regional district properties.
Yes.
So parks, fire halls, where we might have work being done. That's the distinction between this work. And to my understanding, this funding here does not overlap with the regional district specific work, site by site.
Which goes service by service, so you can see it in your service budget. Paris, do you want to add? Go ahead.
Thank you, Jim. I think that's our should an operational end, and that's held by each individual service right through the chair. And then this the intent of the funding is really to support the working group in building the capacity at the regional level to help understand how we manage the issues that are happening at a regional level. So it's an invitation to municipalities to participate in the working group and also regional directors, and to learn, and there's been extensive learning that's been provided to the working group of what are the risks that we face and then how best to operate or to address them.
Thank you. So I have Davidoff Newell, and then, yeah, go ahead, Davidoff.
Thank you, Chair. My question is through the chair to the directors that sit on the CCUS board. And this concerns my support for funding. So that's why I need this question answered. Is the board aware of the 2025 federal court ruling stated Health Canada must review the approval of glyphosate products because it failed to transparently assess new scientific studies or potential risks? And I know when I sat on the board, I resigned actually after I realized how much glyphosates were utilized, and there was uncertainty. And they are banned for use of in forest management, crown land, and forestry in Quebec, and over 40 Canadian communities have restrictions or bans on glyphosate. So is this a debate or a discussion at the CCUS board table? And basically, what is the current position of CCUS on use of glyphosate?
Thank you, Director Davis. So I'm first just going to check in. Who is on the board of CCUS? Board, not the working group, the board. Who is on the board? We have no one at this table on the board. Who do we have at this table on the working group? That's Woodward, Maine, Vandenberg, Hewitt. Okay, so we don't have anyone from the board here, David. Are you okay to hear from the working group? Paris can actually answer as well, so we'll go there.
I would like directly from the advisory committee because they're the ones that are dealing with this every day. Paris is not, right?
Well, Paris has a response, and then we'll go to one of the committee members as well.
Thank you.
Paris, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. The RDCK passed a motion reflecting that any CCUS activity not include glyphosate as chemical, and so RDCK honors that direction. And so any actions that happen on RDCK land do not include glyphosate. I don't think the general operations of CCUS because in some cases that it is the best treatment. From what I understand, they use it responsibly, but from our operations, it will be used.
So that's for our operations. To the committee members who would like to answer if they're aware if this as a whole is considering the impacts of this. Go ahead, Vandenberg.
Thank you, through the chair. Being that we are a working group and our role is to provide some invasive species strategies is the role of our group. We have not specifically spoken to glyphosate chemical. But it may have come up in conversations in past, and so we have not had a specific item of conversation around that. And to Paris's comment, that's my understanding as well. It's probably perhaps why it's never specifically made an agenda item.
Dr. Davidoff, I'll go back to you.
Yeah, supplemental. Could we please ask the advisory people and staff to make this an agenda item? Because there is a court ruling that's out there right now on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think what I was going to suggest was we likely have a motion to refer this. It would be really helpful if CCUS came and did a delegation as per they get funding from us, so similar to Food Policy Council. So I'd suggest that we request them to come as a delegation, and then we ask these questions And also then we could consider their funding request. I think that would be appropriate. So I'm just gonna go to, I now see Hewitt, Newell. Oh, I'm sorry, Newell was next. Hewitt, Cunningham, and Vandenberg for a second time. Newell, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I have much to say. As a past board member, I have to, I did resign my board membership after 6 years there. So I don't have anything specific other than the use of chemical treatment is extremely rare, and there are some situations in which the physical removal of an invasive species is completely impossible in a manual manner, and therefore the decision is whether you let that invasive ruin an ecosystem or not. But I don't want to speak for CKIS because I haven't been on the board for a year and a half now. But I do know that in our conversations that was as at the board level, top priority was, I don't even know if minimize is the right word, but eliminate all use of chemical treatments. I'm not sure that exists. But anyway, highly top of agenda consideration for sure.
Thank you. Director Hewitt.
Through the chair, I just wanted to offer, not that it makes any difference to anybody, but Director Vandenberg and I, our membership on the working group expired at the end of 2024. It was not renewed for 2025. So I sit at that table because I was duly appointed by my council to sit there. So that's the reason I put my hand up, and same with Councillor Main or Director Main. Director Woodward is the current chair of the working group. Okay. So that's just so that you're aware that we are not currently appointed through this board.
So Paris, can you please note that we are gapping in our appointments on that working group, which I believe this board requested based on the request to forward their strategic plan. So we should see that in December, appropriate appointments. Director Cunningham.
Yes, thank you. I agree with the idea of not using chemicals to however, these knotweed can only be killed by using glyphosate or from Roundup. And I know that in the area, in our area last year, they came around with a hand sprayer, sprayed each individual plant as they could find, and then they put a little sign there that said, "This has been sprayed with glyphosate, da. And I thought, well, that's about as responsible as it could be. What are you going to do about things like that? If we find Japanese knotweed on regional district property, what is our approach? Because according to everything I've read, that's the only way of killing it. Believe me, I had some in my yard, and years and years ago, when I found it was invasive, and dug up with a cat and a backhoe and backfill, 5 years later, poof, you're going to throw it out of the ground. Just impossible.
Paris, do you have any response to that, or would it be by department?
I know unfortunately I don't have a response, but I was looking at the question to my person to understand how they respond.
So just to clarify, the question was based on RDCK sites where we have a motion that says, please don't use glyphosate. So that's the follow-up, is how do we do that on our own sites? I don't know that Lori would be able to answer that.
And through the chair, CKIS managing.
Got it. They would be applying. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so she could. Okay. So I think what we're looking for, or yes. So I think just back to you, Paris, as the conduit between us and CKIS, it'd be really helpful if they came as a delegation. And I'm going to go to you, Vandenberg, for the.
Yes, with that in mind, I would like to refer this until and having the presentation would be very helpful, but on 7.4 of the funding, it clearly says that it's RDCK funding. So I'm unfamiliar that RDCK is actual funding. So we need clarification on that. I don't think that is the case right now. So we need that for the future.
So how December or?
I would suggest we refer this specific motion request to January, because I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head what our delegation schedule is right now. So I think we want to hear from them, and just anticipating that December might not be able to accommodate them and us.
That's fine.
Okay. So I just want to get a second on that
I'll
referral.
second referral to January.
Okay. Director Woodward.
On referral.
On referral, this is only on referral. It's only on process, not on the item.
I'm just concerned about cash flow issues for CPS if this happens.
Okay, on referral, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. The contract begins in April first, so they are coming from us until they finalize.
Okay. Yeah.
And through the chair, the motion is to include it in the draft financial plan. So regardless of whether or not it was voted on today, we don't have the authority to pay it until the budget's approved in March.
Thank you.
As with anything that goes in our 2026 budget. Okay. All those in favor? Referral. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. What's the next one?
Council ask.
Do we want to take our morning break now and then come back? Okay. 12 minutes. How's that?
12 minutes.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay, we're back. Thank you so much. We ready? Yeah, so we are on item 9.1.3. Paris, you're back at the podium. Is there anything you want to add to this report or articulate? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. I just want to clarify, I apologize for there's a bit of confusion. There's actually two funding asks around the table, as Chair Watson clarified at the end of the presentation. This report is for core funding, so operational funding for 30,000. And then we're doing an additional report in December for the 20,000 request, which was being alluded to at the presentation. So one is for core funding, and we funded for numerous years, and then the other one is the new project that we're taking on there.
Thank you. So you'll bring that one forward at another meeting. We'll only discuss this one today. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, thanks. So through the chair, this ask in both report and in the actual recommendation talks about a maximum value of $30,000. So there's a nice little chart in the report, 4.1, portion of salary, 20,400, communications, 5,400, etc., totaling 30. But I don't see anywhere where, how would we meter the money out? Because quite often there's just, we put a number on the page, 30,000, and they just budget for the full 30,000, here it is. When this says maximum, when you see these things, are we going to see a quarterly invoice and pay based on how many events were held or based on level of activity? What if we say this isn't working so good and by next September we say, no, you're going to get 25,000 or something like that? Why does it say maximum? Is there some hourly rate or understanding of the value per event, per hours work? Where's that at?
Thank you, through the chair. We do check in at the end of the year just to, sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead.
We do check in at the end of the year just to ensure that all the money has been spent. That there's never been a case where the money hasn't been spent, but it could arise. Also, this is part of our spending resolution template is up to a maximum. And so, again, we might have just been an administrative piece to simplify this, get very about it, but we don't want to make assumptions that we're allocating.
Supplemental.
Quick supplemental, and so I think it'd be entirely prudent to have an expectation set of a quarterly update, not the end of the year. Because otherwise we're really, this implies we'll have some interaction. I appreciate a quarterly.
I'm just noting, I believe it's McLaren Co. who's on the Food Policy Council as per our appointee. Is there anyone else, Vandenberg? So I know that yes, we can get quarterly reports from the entity themselves. And I've noted in director's reports that they will provide the newsletters and updates. So there is that vehicle happening there too. So McFadden was next on the list. Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair, and it might be to Director Vandenberg being on there. Just a couple questions. One might be staff as well. What we funded them in the past couple of years, I don't remember. And the second question is around, are they fulfilling, like, within our agricultural network, are they doing that job for all of them? Because I know there's a lot of agricultural organizations within our district, like within their district, but I'm just trying to figure out why we fund this one and not all or another one, or what the difference makes this one deserving of our funding and not the other dozen that fall within the regional districts. So I guess that would be my couple questions.
Can I just give a brief history on how this started? So the council actually came out of the 3 regional districts agricultural area plans. We have the food, the KBFA, which was agricultural liaisons. They were identified as a gap because we didn't have extension agents. And then the other one was the actual kind of policy piece around food system development, which was not so much up to the farmers on the land, but more so all of those organizations. So the council was developed as an umbrella to bring all of those organizations in and work with all of them. So the intention of the council is to be that umbrella, and then they work within them. So that also we wanted to see something referencing us as a table at the time, where we didn't have all these one-offs and we could see some regional coordination. So I'm just going to see if Parrots, from a historical point, did I miss anything? The only other thing, sorry, was that we were really clear we did not want it to be an RDCK service. We wanted an external entity operating this, which created the council. And sorry, Paris, any other on the history?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, because we essentially developed the Football Council in partnership with others. And so it was a project, it was an idea, a project, now it's a program. And so we maintain an ongoing relationship with it. And it is intended to be that umbrella as well as liaison with local government or with producers on the ground, how to navigate the system and understand our policies. And yes.
Vandenberg, as the committee member in the room today, is there anything you want to, corrections or anything you want to add to McFadden's question?
I would say that there are, so the KFC has done a really good job of reinventing themselves and inserting themselves into the community and bringing in appropriate members. The funding, the umbrella aspect to it is something that I'm searching for in terms of the ag representation out in particularly the Crescent Valley area. So that's an interesting term. Never really thought about it that way before. I'll leave it at that. I have other comments.
Okay, we have you on the list as well. So,
Oh, we have.
sorry, previous funding.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, so we began in 2019. We made a commitment to fund or 2018 rather, to fund for 5 years at 15,000 per year. In 2023, we reevaluated that funding because it was for 2024 because prices are getting more expensive. It was less possible to do the work with 15,000, and so 2024 to 2025, we're now 1 year off. Last year was the first year that we increased that funding to 30,000. At that time, the local grant was adopted in for multi-year funding. We had funding commitment again, and the thought was to do it on an annual basis. So that's how it's good.
In 2020, they did work with us on a pandemic food systems kind of emergency response, and that's actually where they did a lot of the umbrella work where they were working with food banks across all of the Kootenays. And Pickers Camp, yeah, they did a lot of work on that. McFadden, did that answer your questions? Okay, so we got Vandenberg Graham. I'll do my best to go last.
Great, thank you, through the chair. I guess it's striking me as being a little bit premature, just getting the report today, and it's an ask, not just one ask, two asks. In Valley Services or Crescent Valley, we've got food, Fields Forward, we have the food hub, we have the Crescent Valley Food Action Coalition, all doing momentous type programs. There is a board representative that just started with FAC. With the presentation today with Damon, there's some areas of clarification that I am wanting to reach out to him and to talk to our local entities to make sure that the umbrella approach is working. And so he referred to like buying power and school food programs, which is a riddle right now. It's not as smooth as it could be, and there's reasons for it. And then to fully understand who the customer base is. Because we're talking about moving food, we're talking about gathering, holding, moving food. So who's the customer base? So these are the questions that I need to, I feel much more comfortable talking to Damon about. Prior to us agreeing to this, I would, another deferral is what I'm kind of thinking until I have time to do my investigation. And feel comfortable that this money well spent. I don't believe it wouldn't be, but there's a lot of gaps that I don't know about.
So I'll come back to you at the end and see where the discussion goes. That's fair. Graham?
Thank you. So through the chair and along the lines of what Director Vandenberg is saying for me, where's their financials? Like when somebody comes for a grant, like I typically like to see the financials of the organization. Like I look at this and I go like, a portion of salary, like $20,000. Like what portion is that? Is it 20%? Is it 80%? Like I don't know if I don't have their sort of financials to understand like how much is this communication, like how much is their full budget? We don't know. So I think along the lines of what Director Vandenberg is saying, I think we're missing information.
And Paris, can I assume that you will communicate this back to Damon in terms of pieces that we might be seeking? Okay, thank you. Weatherhead.
Thank you to the chair. Just to add to this discussion, the gaps too that I mean I'm only seeing one society connected to the Cooney Food Policy Council, which is trying to, connect. That is, we don't have SB10 is not included in this. This our school district's not. I don't know why that is. Maybe it was their choice not to, but we do have obviously food programs in our school and staff being hired over QB to cook. And so I would also just like to understand how Area K is connected. I know there's a few growers. I know we are not lost a lot of our agriculture many years ago. So, but again, it's just I find it head scratching. Although we do have Nikki Morganowski from the Village of Pass. That's the Village of Pass. Again, it's I don't know how it gets out there in real time.
Yeah. Okay. So I do know a bit more about the council, I think, because of my food system background. So I'm quite well aware of how well they support the Lardo Valley. So I'm grateful for them. They're currently working on, there's a seed trailer that was requested that was rotating around the whole province. Lardo Valley identified it as a need. And so the Food Policy Council immediately came in and said, let's do an assessment to see who else might need it. So I did provide Area D funding to that. They're very responsive. They've also held a couple of on the farm workshops in the Lardo Valley, and they kind of coordinate with Kootenay Boundary Farm Advisor to not replicate. Again, you have Farm Advisor, which is extension specific, like irrigation, crop planting, things like that. And policy is how do we, it's the marketing, it's the distribution system. The one thing I've noted that I see a great improvement in is that when the council was first started, food policy in terms of what we could affect from a regulatory perspective was really far-fetched. And my background is food systems and food sovereignty. So I had a laundry list of policy issues I wanted addressed. Like currently the way that we manage our crops have everything to do with what we might experience on a small farm that has nothing to do with the global market, but it does. So when the council was addressing a lot of the policy implications, we didn't see that on the ground tangible impacts because as we know, when we try and change regulations, it took us 12 years to change the meat inspection regulations. So it's not super tangible. What the council has moved to, and this is where I've had direct communication with Damon quite a bit, is looking at regional distribution. The work that they're currently doing on the apples with the schools, it does include, I don't know why it doesn't say SD10, but I do know they're looking at schools from a central Kootenay perspective. So they may just not know that once you go over there, it's SD10, but it's a good question for them. But they're starting with apples as a template to figure out the distribution. That's always been the gap, is we have global distribution systems. We don't have regional ones. And that's where we've always had the issue of creating a local food system. So I'm grateful to see the council move from completely policy to actual tangible system development, which when that was my background, that was the flag I had every time. Doesn't matter how great and awesome you are as a farm, if you can't get it to someone, it's a problem. So I've been grateful to see that shift. That being said, I do have quite a few questions I'm just going to send to Damon. One of them is the note on the RDCK food system report card. I think that's a misunderstanding. It's not our entity. It's not the RDCK as an organization's food systems report card. I think it's the Kootenay food system report card, which is done in many areas. And it's a really good tool to understand where we're at from both a social perspective, but also from an economic in terms of farmers. So I have some one-offs that I'm going to send to Damon just to understand better. But I do want to note that the policy aspect was very difficult to see the tangible results on, and that was hard. I see them moving into a much more system development piece, and that for me is way more functional. So I'm grateful for the work they're doing because that speaks to economics, it speaks to social, it speaks to the global system we're in that is not going to support us for very much longer. So I'm grateful. I think it's good. Director Woodward.
Thank you, Chair. I think one of my concerns, they seem like they're trying to move this kind of policy to more of like on the ground operations. But one of my concerns, of course, as soon as I've had some experience in food systems here, is that as soon as you start doing that, you're talking trucks, you're talking refrigeration, you're talking rent, you're talking liability, you're talking insurance, you're talking staff, and on and on. And that's not, I know they're in early days, but for me, like moving forward, they're gonna have to start including that in their current funding they need. Otherwise, you can't move food around, you can't refrigerate food, and you can't have staff, you don't have this kind of level of funding that covers that. So that's my one concern that I would like to kind of understand if this is too early or are they planning to go on that? That's big money.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. So the project is called Grow and Connect, and it's a multi-partner project. There's a few policy campus participating and supporting, and I'm happy to provide additional information about that. But yes, it is quite large, and they're in the implementation stage, and they have considered all those different components. It's quite exciting because, as Cheryl mentioned, it's getting passionate food systems and they could use for forever. Well, not forever, but yeah, for a long time of how to distribute food locally. And so they're actually trying to consider it, looking at digital apps as well, and how to manage with the existing infrastructure that is in place as well. But yeah, I'll share with you.
Thank you.
I believe Red Up is a major funder on that project. And not us, like we're a small portion, but that budget will be helpful. And there is a really good Grow and Connect summary, I believe, on their website, but we can just circulate that.
Okay.
You're good?
Yeah, thank you.
David, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And what I heard from the chair was pretty much a presentation by the Food Council. Perhaps we could invite them to come as a delegation and then before we make a financial decision.
So did you miss the delegation this morning? I thought you were present.
I was present, but I mean, why didn't we address, we have more questions like before, and we're talking about the funding now for them. I don't understand why there's so much confusion.
I don't know. We had questions for Damon, and then we did indicate that the request was on this agenda as well. So I think it's a very complex entity, and we have a lot of questions that we want verified. So I think we'll end up going back to Vandenberg for potential referral and getting information that we want more on.
So, Chair, I just have one more supplemental, please.
Yes, go ahead.
I really appreciate the discussion because we took a look at what happened in Kelowna with BC Fruits, and I couldn't believe that if you can't make the stuff work in the Okanagan, how are we going to try and do this here with on a much smaller scale? So just a really good debate. Appreciate it. Maybe more questions. Maybe we may refer this thing to budget discussions. But food for thought. Thank you, pun intended.
Thanks, David. Jackman.
Or Kelly. So BC Tree Fruits came up. It's in the news now, and I don't know if everybody's aware. One of their holdings is in the Creston Valley. It's a big 3-generational, I'll call it, cold storage, fruit chilling, and higher tech, more modern, smaller refrigeration unit within it. It's highly, sensitive to temperature control. In limbo for years, getting access to that. The brewery uses it a lot. In the old model, they would load B trains with pre-chilled beer, take them to the States, go direct into mega beer stores, and they're sold right off practically truck to shelf to the customer. So that model may be changing. I gave Damon a heads up that we need to find out, is that for sale? Is it part of this new private entity that's taken over BC Tree Fruits? What's going to happen with that? And of course, our interest, I think, would be just to get a leasehold of a little piece of that, some valuable equipment in there. Those kind of things, I think Damon, now being aware, will work on. This is the importance, like Director Vandenberg mentioned earlier, that whether it's a rep from Creston or a new rep from McCusp or whatever, I think Director McFadden also mentioned it, he needs to be aware of all these little entities. They made their ask. They could have doubled the 35,000 pounds of food that they collected and redistributed in Creston Valley, would have doubled if they had cold storage. They don't need a system in the distribution and planning and mentoring and how to do that. They just need storage, because as it is now, the food's going to compost. So these are the issues that are in play. And because BC Tree Fruits has mentioned, that is a big current factor that I would expect they would be helpful. The council would be a good umbrella to look into that. There may be other facilities available. The only one we heard about was Castlegar.
No, former Director Wall is now on the council in terms of representation from Creston Valley and the Fields Forward over there. I'm gonna go back to you. Do you want to refer this to next month with the information to come back to us?
I would, because there are some important clarity items to the deputy chair, assistant chair.
No,
vice chair.
rural chair.
Vice chairs, who I'm not aware of, but that particular unit is purchased by a local producer, and it's on the list that Fields Ford is working with right now to take advantage of that. So there's that. The school food program that was mentioned a little bit earlier. Actually, Fields Forward in Crescent Valley manages that. And that's the ripples that I'm referring to. There's some issues to do with that, but I would like to refer this to next meeting so that I can bring back more information that verifies some of the good work that Damon's trying to do, just a clarity around that. And then, of course, the comment on the financials, where they at, would be good to know as well. Should be understood by this group.
Motion to refer. Do we have a second? Thank you. And that's to December. We've had a delegation, so I don't think it's the time consideration we have for CCAS. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So Parrots, I think the budget and a few of those questions, if you noted them, I also want to encourage directors with the deep down questions. Like I have a few I'm just going to send direct to Damon for my own information. Please do that as well. It's a very complex, a lot of things going on. So providing that all to us in a 15-minute presentation is not easy, but I encourage you all to reach out to him. He was really clear, like, please ask me, talk to me, get to know me. So thank you. Emergency support services. Thank you, Paris. Hello, Diana. We have a motion, we have a report. Do you have anything you want to add to the report?
Yes, Ian Briscoe sends his regards. We had to do our annual HQ Mines visit, and no one was part of the schedule today. So he wanted me to just thank all the 9 municipal partners that also agreed for us to do a regional application for this and provided a resolution from their councils.
Thank you.
I'll move the recommendation.
We have a second. Thank you, Woodward. Discussion. I'd like to note that I'm really grateful for how much work we're doing with the emergency support services. They are a critical tool, and Director View and I have met with our local team, and I'm so grateful to hear that RDCK is working on like a regional approach so that they can, they get pulled in at different times, but also the resourcing in terms of the phone and things like that. So at our local emergency committee, there's a lot of information provided, and it was really, really helpful. Good job on. It's the one thing that, not the one thing, but when it comes to emergencies, I'm so grateful for the system and the people in it. So thank you. Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, we're okay. Gotcha. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Dan. So we have the risk tolerance. Oh, BGC. It's BGC with us right now.
Good morning, Chair. Yes, I'm on the call.
Oh, hi. Hi, welcome. Good to see you again. Do you have others with you?
This morning, it's just myself.
Okay. And do you have a presentation?
I do. Let me share my screen.
Okay. Oh, you're on the other side.
Is that coming through? Oh, no, maybe not. Let me try one more time.
No problem. There you go. We can see it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And just to clarify, do you want questions as we go or just go to the end and then we'll take questions?
I'm happy to take questions as we go.
Okay, thank you. Floor is yours.
Wonderful. So hello everyone. I'm Alyssa. I'm a hydrologist with BGC Engineering, and I'm calling in from the Silicon Valley this morning. Our team presented at the September board meeting to introduce the floodplain bylaw review project, and I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce the risk tolerance policy project, which is now underway in collaboration with RDCK staff. Our team, which is leading this work, has overlap with the floodplain management bylaw review project. Unfortunately, my colleague Chris had to step away for another scheduled call this morning, so I'll be providing an introduction to the initiative on behalf of the team. The intent of this project is to support the development of a risk tolerance policy as a tool to help manage natural hazards in the district and to guide land use planning decisions that require certification that the land is safe for the use intended. Currently, RDCK manages risks related to natural hazards through tools such as the Floodplain Management Bylaw and Section 56 of the Community Charter, which require a report from a qualified professional or QP to certify that land is safe for intended use. However, there's no formal risk tolerance criteria or definition of safe established for the regional district. And there had been feedback previously from QPs to provide some additional direction on what the intention is for QP reports that are asked to sign off on safe for the use intended. This challenge is not unique to the RDCK. Other municipalities and regional districts in the province, such as the District of Squamish and the District of Northland, have developed natural hazard risk tolerance policies as additional non-structural tools to manage geohazard risks. And we have the opportunity to sort of learn from what other districts have put in place in terms of managing geohazard and life safety risk. Risk tolerance policy can clearly define the level of acceptable or tolerable risk, which provides a consistent basis for development applications to meet safe for the use intended. A policy that defines safe helps with communicating what that means and provides some clarity for QP reports that inform land use decision. This criteria can also help support risk reduction measures for new and existing buildings, and can also potentially support risk evaluations for existing mitigation measures such as flood protection structures, debris barriers, or diversion structures. This example that I have here is one from the town of Canmore, where they've provided direction on life safety risk that is part of their documentation that's available to QPs that are doing those types of assessments for applications. This project has a relatively narrow focus. It's really helping to define what safe for development building permit decisions in hazards areas means to RDCK and where risk assessments have been required under regulation. For purposes of community planning decisions, the focus is on life safety risk or loss of life risk tolerance criteria. Like other jurisdictions, this will consider both risks to individuals and to groups, and geohazard related risks to support decisions about development in areas subject to a range of hazard types that occur in the RDCK, including floods, steep creeks, and landslide hazards. Under this framework, hazard, exposure, and vulnerability are evaluated to estimate the risk for development in hazard-prone areas. Our team is currently conducting a broader review of relevant hazards and risk tolerance policies and best practices related to risk tolerance. As I mentioned, we have that information that is available from other BC jurisdictions, and also understanding what other municipalities are doing in Canada and internationally. We've also developed a stakeholder engagement plan to inform and engage First Nations, RDCK staff, and qualified professionals. Key deliverables for the project will be draft policy, language, and recommendations for RDCK. The project is scheduled for completion by May 2026. We've started engaging stakeholders and expect to deliver a comparative analysis this month with draft policy language planned for early next year, and hope to as well offer a workshop that the public can attend to learn more about risk tolerance policies and get additional feedback. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce the project. I welcome any feedback or questions to help kind of guide future engagement and policy development. And again, really look forward to working together to strengthen risk management across the RDCK with this project and with the floodplain bylaw review project as well.
Thank you, Alyssa. We'll take some questions now. I've got Woodward. Go ahead, Director Lockwood.
Thank you. And through the chair to Alyssa, how would this policy affect homes that are built in those areas already? As I look forward to what's going on in our province right now, there's a lot of uncertainties of land and stuff like that. Can you give us any indication of how this policy could affect those homes?
Yeah, it would be it would be applied to existing development as well. So that would be if a permit application includes expansion of existing facilities or change in the use intended for a facility, that risk tolerance could be applied. It would depend as well on the scale of the application and then the type of development.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you can answer this question or if it's something that we end up having to go to legal or something like that, but how does that, if somebody has built and something happens and we have this risk tolerance policy, and their insurance, they can't get insurance anymore because of the policy, how does that come back on the board, or can it come back on the board?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not sure if I can fully comment on that one, but I could take that away and get a little bit more clarity on how that might potentially impact board decisions based on the policy language.
Thank you.
And Dan's in the room and Nora's online. If staff want to add anything to that, please do. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, through the chair. I think I'd just add that the risk tolerance policy isn't a risk assessment. We're not going to be reclassifying risk across the regional district for this policy. This is a framework that helps make decisions, as opposed to saying in this particular area, this piece of land is now considered extremely high risk. So we'll find out more as we go, but it shouldn't be directly impacting this policy.
Go ahead.
So with Dan saying that, we heard that with the Fire Smart assessment, that it's never going to affect our insurance, although there's certain insurance companies now that are actually asking, do you have Fire Smart assessment? Because it will affect your insurance. So even though we said this when that first started coming, even though we're not at that point, that is a concern of going forward. So that's the only reason I brought it up. Thank you.
One of the pieces to the Fire Smart is we actually did advocate that insurance agencies recognize it. So there was advocacy through UBCM for that. Not saying that insurance won't look at this, but next on the list was Woodward, then Davidoff.
Thank you, Chair. My question is around, it is a little bit about insurance and risk, but also with the changing climate, risks are evolving and shifting. So do you feel like this document be flexible enough to include that kind of change and shift over 5 to 10 years area?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Thank you for that. The criteria that developed will integrate climate change within through the broader risk assessment process. So for context, the influence of climate change is typically assessed as part of that risk evaluation. And so the QP is responsible for determining how climate change is incorporated into risk. So in accordance with professional practice guidelines. So the estimated risk is then evaluated to determine if it's considered acceptable, tolerable, or unacceptable risk. So as it relates to this policy work, risk estimates for both current and projected future conditions can compared against a single set of risk tolerance criteria. So if estimated future risk is considered higher than today, greater effort will be needed to reduce future risk to within levels considered tolerable. And that would be part of the work of the QP. But this process would allow some direction on what is considered acceptable or unacceptable risk.
Yes, just supplemental. And just like, I'm just thinking about, let's say, snow loads and shifts in snow loads that have been happening. And then over like a 10-year period or a 15-year period, those are definitely going to be shifting and changing. So that would have to be built into that. And then of course there would be, with less snow load, there's less water, there's more wildfire risk, and all that builds up as the climate shifts. So it'd be really great to have that built in, that flexibility. Thank you.
Anything from staff on that one, or you're good? Okay. Director Davidoff, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Very, very good conversation. My concern is fire underwriter survey. When they deemed any community serviced by a cable ferry as unprotected, this was right across Canada, my constituents in Glade across the river faced double, triple, quadruple potential insurance increases. And what ended up happening is we managed to work and advocate and lobby, and with FCMs and UBCM support, we managed to address some of these issues. I just received an email yesterday, somebody losing their their carrier was not going to insure because of the deemed unprotected. I referred them to an insurer that is still accepting or underwriting those properties in Glade. My concern is that an entity like FUS provides recommendations to the insurance industry. If we generate a report and GIS mapping and everything else saying that the certain areas where people live now are not, like, the risk is not acceptable for future development, or even for expansion of properties or anything that's currently there, an entity like FUS would definitely be looking at that and potentially making recommendations to the insurance industry. And the province did an interesting thing here. They offloaded this work onto us. We then identify the risk. We have hired a consultant to do this for us. And basically then we have to work on what is safe and what isn't safe. So in essence, we as the RD become the entity making that decision, not the province or a provincial agency. And this is a very, I'm going to say it, pun intended, slippery slope that this work that we're doing right now. And I see Nora's hand is up, but Nora's been working on FUS stuff for a long time. And it's worrisome to me, having gone through this in our community, how much influence FUS has on insurance. And that's the thing that could really hinder property sales, mortgage acquisition, all kinds of things. So I'm just my question is that to the consultant is, are we considering the consequence of what we're doing? Because there is a logical result, and entities like FUS will look at this. Am I correct?
Alyssa, do you mind if I just go to Nora first and then we'll go back to you?
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you, Nora, if you have a comment to add.
Yeah, through the chair, I think just two comments. One is the scope of this is just pertaining to geohazards. So FUS is going to look at fire threat. We're not currently including wildfire risk in this assessment. So, this is going to be limited to geohazards, but it's providing a policy on hazards that we've already identified and that we know So it's helping provide guidance to qualified professionals. It wouldn't change the referral process in terms of that we've already identified these areas as being in a floodplain or being in a slope stability hazard, but we're providing the QPs additional guidance in their decision making when it comes to life safety.
So Alyssa, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question and the discussion. I think it's an important consideration. I think as a qualified professional being asked to help with these decisions and making these assessments, we often will use criteria that's available through other sources. So it would be for landslide, looking at landslide hazards. There are standards that are available to use, and so then QPs will reference those other policies or criteria as part of their decision making. I think that just adding to what Nora had mentioned, that this gives an opportunity for RDCK to provide a clear definition of what safe for the use intended means for each of the different hazard types that we're considering as part of this study. And it could inform additional work looking at hazard types that are not currently considered.
David?
Yeah, Chair, just want to make a comment. FUS looks at everything. It's fire underwriter survey, but the key thing is that there are other insurance companies will look at all indicators of hazard, of safety. Some of us have earthquake insurance. Some of us have other things. So the insurance industry looks at everything. The insurance companies, FUS's recommendations are one big thing that they look at. So having been involved in this really intently for several years, it's worrisome to me that some of this good work that we're doing to try and keep our constituents safe may also have unintended repercussions and consequences. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Vandenberg.
All right, thank you, through the chair. So I do know that currently this work is probably a pretty good idea. Having a policy around guiding our decisions and our staff, that sort of thing. Building officials who currently have the ability to qualify risks. I don't recall, I think this is grant money that's funding this, so I'm not quite sure, I don't recall. But I want to talk about the tolerance scope that's been referred to so far. For example, we have the change in climate, and of course, that's certainly a driver in this, but it's bigger than that. We need to, and really the question would be, is within that scope, that tolerance scope, does it include logging practices on private and public land? Will it include density development potentially? What's been referred to, what's it going to look like in 5 and 10 years? Well, density development is a contributor. Diking infrastructure failure and the ability for us to ensure that diking is looked after. These elements that are going to be wrapped into the scope as well would be my question.
Over to, I don't see staff with their hands up. Alyssa, if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting discussion, and I think we can acknowledge that risk tolerance criteria can be broadly applicable to across hazard types. We've focused the work on specifically on geohazards that we know are of significant concern within the RDCK, and so part of this. A part of the work that we're doing through looking at sources of information from other municipalities and districts will help kind of identify other hazard types that might benefit from risk tolerance criteria for decision making. And we, through this process, would provide recommendations to consider and further review and make this policy more broadly applicable.
The supplemental is this grant funded? I don't recall.
I believe so. Nora, what's the budget on, oh, go ahead, you have your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, this is funded by a community emergency preparedness fund through UBCM. And just further to Alyssa's response, so in terms of, say, diking or flood protection works, this may provide additional criteria to inform what those might look like. But in terms of, say, a density application, I don't know if there's anybody in the room from planning, but this really would just apply to the sort of safe for use intended. So whether somebody's looking to construct 1 home or 5 homes in a slide prone area, it would be applying that criteria in terms of the life safety risk, and then any other land use planning would further apply to inform density or further development.
Good. Dr. Cunningham.
Yes, thank you. Excuse my standing up. I've got cramps.
What's that?
Yeah, the thing is, I remember with a lot of it is covered under things like building permits. Snow loads are covered under your building permits when you get them. And times may change, but I know the snow loads have changed also that are required. I think I also recall that we were dealing with something where somebody built a house without a building permit on the side of a creek, and we, I believe, forced them to remove the house because it was just in a dangerous location. This 3-4 years ago, perhaps, is and it is but yeah, I'm thinking about slides, for example, the one in the area D there. Some of the properties are you can live on, and some are still in the, I'm sure, in the danger zone. I think having that area is broadly mapped out and said, okay, yeah, this is tolerable. This is okay for you to put your barn on, but you can't live there. That kind of thing. I don't expect that we're going to get specific because we are busy writing a policy, aren't we? And also an FUS, they're a private company and they can say whatever they like, and these jurors can do whatever they like, and unfortunately that's the problem. And I sympathize with the director, with the director talking about it. However, it's yeah, I wish there was something we could do, but it is what it is. And we still, all we have to do is redo our policy, and everyone else can use it as they wish.
Thank you. So, Dan, go ahead.
I mean, just one comment, because and through the chair, I think there is a tension, and when we're developing these policies, they do have outcomes potentially for residents. And when we start looking at policies for disaster risk reduction, if we think of it as this is a mitigation measure, so as opposed to us having to respond to a situation where we've got flooding with houses where they may not have necessarily needed to be, or we didn't understand what tolerance we had there. This is a foundational piece of policy that helps us going forward with what we're going to need to be doing with regional district, as opposed to modeling up, we're trying to get ahead. So if we think of, like, when we put in a dike, that's a structural mitigation. This is a non-structural mitigation tool. So there are more pieces like this that we're going to need to be putting into our practice as the climate is changing and it's impacting, especially in an area like where we are, where we've got significant geohazard because of the steepness of the mountains and depth of the valleys that we're in. There's more of this that's going to be coming to the board. This is one of the first pieces that we're doing.
Thank you. So we're close to 30 minutes. I'm going to take another question, and we don't have a motion. This is just a mid-project update for us. So Director Hewitt, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. On the staff report, it references that it just applies to all electoral areas. But does A101 not apply to the entire regional district? The reason for my question is, will there be application by the regional district on municipal governments, right? And through the building service, are they going to look through it with this lens, or do municipalities remain autonomous in this case, or will this impact municipalities? Will all of these things be without consultation and inclusion of municipal staffs, be applied to municipalities.
I don't think we can impose our policies, like it would be up to the municipality to adopt the policy. I don't have my screen open. Who wants to comment on that one? We wouldn't create policies for municipalities, but we would inform what you might want to create a policy around. Dan or?
Nora.
Oh, sorry, my screen wasn't working. Go ahead, Nora.
Yeah, through the chair. So the municipalities are autonomous. The grant funding was written in a way that the risk tolerance criteria will be available to our municipal partners to review and determine if they're interested in adopting or further investigating that. But the current project applies to the RDCK electoral areas only.
I think that it's similar to planning where we can't impose upon a municipality, but our policy, similar to the floodplain stuff, you can adopt into your own bylaws. And so that would be the tool or the product the municipality could then take and do what they would like with it. Go ahead.
Well, supplemental for small municipalities that use the regional district building inspection service are the building inspectors going to look at this and say, you know, because the regional district has adopted this and this is who we're operating under, therefore applies to your situation because we have been given direction by the regional district to apply these policies and we just become part of it. That's primarily where my question lies. Is there a scenario you cannot impose the policies? We can go along, I get that, but in any way, is there a way that it can, in a roundabout way, impact municipalities without intending to?
Nora, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair. So this wouldn't impact the BC building code in terms of building inspection. The municipal partners will still have areas that are within a floodplain or have slope stability concerns, and so should a municipal partner choose not to review or adopt the risk tolerance criteria as it comes out or policy, it would then be the process that a municipal partner currently has where should somebody want to construct in a floodplain, for example, they would need a report from a qualified professional that would provide guidance on how that construction could occur.
Okay, Jackman for the final, and then we're going to move on. Alyssa, sorry, are you good? Was there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, not at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So we need to loop it back to building, but the authority having jurisdiction over the permit has always had a separate authority when they feel there's a geotechnical hazard to require a geotechnical investigation. I've had that happen on my sites. And that may be the situation that you're talking about, Director Hewitt, where they would say, we believe there's a need for geotech before we can move forward with the permit application. But we really need building inspection to weigh in on that in the future as this policy comes out.
And through the chair, they could make that determination. However, they couldn't use the regional district risk tolerant policy as the reason for asking, because it doesn't apply in the municipalities.
It is an LGA or a separate authority they have.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Alyssa.
You're giving up.
We appreciate the, I'll take myself off the list. That was a good conversation. Anything else from you that you want to mention at this time, or we'll see you again?
No, thank you for the opportunity to give an introduction. I really appreciate the comments. Thank you, Chair Watson, and we'll definitely be providing additional updates as we move forward with the project.
Thank you so much for being here and for the work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, directors, we're going to keep moving along. We are on
921.
Thank you. Services. Community Services Financial Access. This is the change on a policy number.
The first one.
Yeah, so would anyone like to?
I'll move the recommendation.
Second. Thank you. This is an all vote discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the second one? Thank you, Lockwood. Second, McFadden. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So I think for the budget, let's start with emergency services and then see where we get. We might just break this up and take lunch in between, but given Dan's in the room, can we just start with emergency services? However, before we even start the budget section, go ahead, Dan. No, go ahead. It'll only be a second. I want to ask Stuart to give us just a quick summary on reminder on timing when we have numbers this early, but all the changes that could come. So Stuart, kind of the intention of this process at this time.
Sure, yeah, through the chair, just a reminder that we're working through this new process to get these documents to you earlier. So I wouldn't expect them to be perfect, and having looked through them, they are definitely not perfect. So there's going to be some questions that come up. You might get an answer that says we're working through that number and hope to have it updated by the next time we bring it to you. And that's really the best we can do right now. Or there are some numbers that are in there that you'll have questions on, and we definitely have an answer for it because we're well aware of the circumstances around it. So just be patient with us as we're working through this new process, because I don't ever remember development services budgets being ready yet in November. So staff's worked hard to try to get stuff to you earlier this year, and I think they're doing a good job so far.
Okay, so we'll start with a 101. Over to you, Dan.
Is there a slide? Or am I, should I be sharing?
I thought we had that. Sorry, I would have to put it on to the.
I can also log on and share.
Yeah, maybe do that, Dan, because then you're in control.
Yeah, go ahead. And find a glass of water. I'll break this through out there.
Oh, that's great. Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what I am presenting is the Emergency Consolidated Services Budget, so A101, which is an allocation service. And this slide presents the different work orders that represent A101. And these are essentially the pockets of funding that we pull from and try to keep separate in terms of different projects and work orders so that we can understand where our spending is going. After 2.5 years into this position, I've looked to simplify the work orders that we have in A101, because what we noticed is that there was at times budget going into certain work orders that wasn't getting spent. So for example, some administrative or equipment related budgets that were allocated to different work orders. Instead of having a series of different work orders, we're bringing that all into a much more simplified version of it. So we're going to be taking away an overhead, so OPR 4 here, which is the general overhead, as well as the wildfire mitigation, are going to be conflated into OPR 501, so that emergency management is seen as all 4 pillars of emergency management are landing in OPR 501. And we also want to keep track of our emergency operations center. So what's that cost of being ready to respond that we want to keep a handle on? And emergency support services is going to be held separately because the city of Nelson and town of Preston also participate in that one. So it's important to have a separate understanding of their position there. And OPR 505, wildfire operational field treatments, and OPR 507, Fire Smart are fully grant funded, so we're in a separate role as well. And flood mitigation, as we're working through that, there is the potential for it to become that there be a need for a service, so we're keeping track of that separately. OPR 402 and 680, which I skipped over at the top, emergency response. OPR 402 used to live in this service, so in A101. Those are all the response costs that used to, or that are fully refundable from the province. And it was really causing havoc to understand where our actuals were last year. So last year we moved that to a separate service, which is A121, and I'll report on that in the next couple of slides. Okay. A101 is paid for through 7 different services that are clustered geographically or sub-geographically. So I wanted to show what it would look like in terms of an increase. So from a requisition standpoint, so the bottom line is that it's a roughly a 0.6% increase from 25 to 26. To Stuart's point earlier, the caveat is there is a review happening right now for duty officer costing guidelines, which might shift this. So we might be looking at a slight increase of that 0.6. So it might be up to 3 to 5% increase between 25 and 26. But I don't know yet. That's still being worked through with senior management team. The other thing that I want to point out on this slide is that these services are assessment based. And we're working from the 2025 assessments, since the 2026 assessments haven't come out yet. So this gives you a sense of what areas are going to be looking at in terms of requisition. And I want to highlight also that Nelson and, as I said before, Crescent don't have an equal share to the A101 budget because they only participate in emergency support services. The other thing in terms of Crescent that's important to see here, the requisition that you see here is much lower than what you're actually going to see in the books when it goes forward, because it doesn't include the emergency management costs and victim services requisition that we also collect on behalf of Crescent and
Dan, can I just check, do you want questions by slide? Does that work?
Sure, I'm open to that.
Okay. And so are we at that point now?
Yes.
Okay.
I should wait, is my point here.
Okay, Vandenberg, was it on this slide?
Yeah, but I think you might have touched on it. So when I look at S157, the numbers and the requisition are way higher than what you're proposing on the slide. Correct. But you said additional to what's missing on the slide is, and I didn't get a chance to note it down, those two things.
So it's roughly $100,000. So if memory serves, I think there's about 35 to 36, maybe it's $33,000 for victim services, as well as it's about $76,000 for emergency management for town of Preston. And we don't provide emergency management; we're just collecting our requisition on their behalf and transferring it. I mean, using the wrong words, but we have to speak to that if I am.
Does that answer your question, Vandenberg?
Yeah.
Okay. Any others on the slide at this moment? Please proceed.
Okay, this is my attempt at trying to simplify a very complex table. So this is my attempt at trying to simplify what A101 actually looks like, and so that you have an understanding of what requisition is and what actual surpluses are connected, surpluses or deficits are connected to the core of the business. So anything that's funded through requisition versus what's funded through a grant, and it's just because we haven't completed the grant or we haven't received the grant funding. So I'll start by drawing your attention to the first left 3 columns that are kind of light blue color. So those are the core services or the core service delivery and the cost of what goes to taxation. And so that's where our 0.6% increase comes from. And within that, there's an operational surplus that you'll see of it'll shift, but it's roughly $113,000 from 2025. And that operational surplus came from some staffing changes that we had, where we had a staff pass away last year, so there was a cost saving on that side. There were projects that were associated to that staff that we were unable to deliver on as a result of that. There were also more significant surpluses that came between 2024 and 2025. So those have been carried over as well. In emergency support services specifically, and in as well as in emergency management, were costs that we had put towards requisition. We were actually able to be successful in the CEPF grants that therefore reduced the amount of requisition-based money that we needed in order to deliver emergency support service program as well as emergency management. And one of the things that I'll draw your attention to is the EOC Readiness Stabilization Fund, and I'm just going to jump back. So where that goes, so it's an idea, it's a proposal, where OPR 502, which is that EOC readiness, there are costs that are associated to that. They include things like standby, having funding for fuel for our fire trucks so that it's not, say, Val for Air that's paying for Chief Hergott to drive out to Argenta. The EOC will be covering that. There are costs that are associated to when someone steps into the EOC director role, and if their regular salary or wage is much lower than what the responsibilities are of the EOC director, based on a hay review, it would be bumped up to a different salary. So there's money that we hold just in case we're going to activate, just in case we need to go on standby. And that's historically created a fluctuation in what we were going for requisition. So my proposal this year is that with the surplus be treated in two ways. One is that $113,000-ish be earmarked, it's a little bit higher than that, 141,000 because it also includes the 28,000 we had before. So that go towards the potential EOC renovation or move in 2028 once our lease is complete. We'll know more as with fire services shifting leadership there. This is being changed as well. What 2028 is going to look like with those offices, if that's what that is being earmarked for, or that's the proposal, and then the EOC stabilization that we have a certain amount of money in reserves that we don't annually tax or standby, EOC director top up, fuel surcharge levels like driving, and there's also a fee that goes to fire services for readiness since we use a lot of their staff. So the proposal is that we have that reserve fund, and the purpose of it is to be able to stabilize. So if we do hit a year where we have a significant activation, then we're able to pull into that stabilization fund without having to have fluctuation in the requisition. Maybe I'll stop there because that's the core program.
So let's just get the speakers list going. And just to note to anyone online, normally we have public time at 11:45. I'm going to continue this discussion and this presentation up to noon, at which point we will break for public time and lunch. So just also as my colleagues here, let's work together on that timing because we kind of butted up against public time. So we've got Jackman, Maine, Weatherhead. I think Vandenberg was in there as well. Okay. So go ahead. I got it. Yeah, it's different slide. It's fine. Go ahead. Jackman.
Sure, thank you. So through the chair, Dan, this is the slide I wanted to drill down on, and I wanted to go back. This is the thing with finance in part. There is such a massive amount of money in grant funding and contracts rolling from year to year to year. This is a really big rollover. Looking at the previous plan, we thought we'd be rolling into 2025 some $823,000 in contracted services, and then only $240,000 going into the future year. Whereas right now we have much larger numbers rolling year by year, which I guess a couple ways to ask the question. It appears as though some work is just not getting done. You did try and identify some of the prior surpluses. You're saying put those into reserve. So those are actually surpluses. But what we need on all those other numbers, because the rest of the numbers are big ones, we see some UBCM, I guess, are deficits. We'll get paid that late. Then we see Indigenous engagement, 332.6. CBT readiness, 161, etc. Those are hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the first question is, I guess, are those committed funds where we have a contract and we just haven't activated the contract, or our partner hasn't responded? And is it for the complete amount of all of those, or is there some what I'd almost call discretionary money? Say when we have placeholder Indigenous engagement of 332, is that 150 for one entity plus some money for another plus some for us? Because these are big numbers that would be nice to understand better. So if I can pause there and then go back to my second part.
Okay. So the first part of your question to me had to do with the 5-year plan.
Yep.
I think the 5-year plan, in terms of projection, when so much of this program is grant funded, isn't a helpful Northern Star. It changes every time we're applying for a grant. So I find it very difficult to write a 5-year plan because I don't necessarily know what grants are going to come in and how much those grants are going to be for. So I can understand that causes a little bit of concern or confusion when it comes to projects. The way that I can go through each of these projects. The CRI, the Fire Smart grant is pretty well understood. We received $750,000 a year. We went for 1.5 this year. So what we're looking at there in terms of rollovers and deficits is about we are budgeting and planning for work up to $750,000 annual, but we haven't yet received that fund. So that's what we're seeing there. Indigenous engagement was the project where we had miss the number of municipalities where we had municipal partners as well as regional districts come together and pool $40,000 in order to be able to bring that project forward. Within that, there is $88,000 that was going to a consultant for phase 1. It's going to then articulate what phase 2 is going to look like. So that's where the rest of so what we're seeing there is partially between the consultant, which the work is going to be done in March for up to $88,000, and then the rest of that is about $220,000 is going to be left for whatever that phase 2 is going to be. I don't know where that work is going to be done. For the UBCM DOC grant, the work is going to be completed this year. All the expenses are going to be finalized, but we only get paid next year. Same thing for the CEF ESS grant. And the CBT Community Readiness Partnership grant was funding that we received this year. This year? Yeah, it was this year. And that is for 9 different projects. The projects haven't started yet. We're just starting to have the terms of reference, or not terms of reference, essentially a memorandum of understanding between the RDCK, CK, and EK in order to be able to deliver those projects. Each of the projects are going to come to board as we're going to either contracting, but that is all going to be contracted. It's not going to be for us. Risk tolerance policy, and we spoke about that, so that's funding that goes towards development. And same for the Crescent Valley flood mitigation.
So then, so my understanding then is, yeah, I can understand if you apply for a grant and you think you can get the work done in a year and you don't hear anything back for 6-8 months, you're not starting. So there's a lot of lag. It's just a huge amount of lag. Then coming out of that though, the current 5-year financial plan shows these contracted services tapering off to nothing by 2028, whereas the previous 5-year plan showed more. So I guess that's just you're maybe being honest about you don't have any idea about that would be all future grant work and you have no concept. So then the second part of my question is when you do make a recommendation to put something into reserve, and EOC costs and operations fluctuate wildly, I understand that, but you're recommending placing quite a chunk into reserves, $170,000 roughly. So the current reserve, just trying to read, is 20,000 plus earmarked for this year. I'm wondering, when do we know if that's too much money? That does start to sound like kind of a lot of money. The total in reserve will be substantial. So when we see this presentation next round, it'd be nice to see prior year surplus, what is a firm contract or obligation tagged or flagged money? It's got to go to this versus a real true discretionary amount of money, which could either go to reserve or could go back to the taxpayer or whatever. I'd love to see a little better detailed breakdown when we get to this the next month or two. Because it is a lot of money floating in this service. It's not quite pinned down in my mind. So thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
May I clarify just to make sure that I bring it back to you? So right now, out of the, if we look at just the prior year surplus line, we've got on the far right, total by account, 587,000 minus 113,000, which is what the operational surplus is. And so you'd like to see what that number is to understand what the grant rollover total is?
Pretty much.
Okay.
You're a little better defined.
Sure. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have Maine, Weatherhead, and Vandenberg, and about 6 minutes to noon. So we could either break now, do public time, and reconvene at 1 with our questions, or we can take the questions and go over time. Right now?
No, I am sorry. Take me off the question.
Oh, okay, so we're done. Dan, how many more slides are in your presentation?
That's it. That's the last one.
Okay, let's just keep going. I think, okay. So Maine, go ahead, and then Weatherhead, and then we will do public time.
Thank you. Thank you. Through the chair, despite Director Jackman's very complicated question and explanation, I just have a very simple, I just want to know the EOC Readiness Stabilization Fund, that $64,000 plus. Is that a one-time contribution that will just sit there, or is that, does that represent a portion of the prior year surplus that you're going to add to that fund on an annual basis?
That, from what I've learned in the last 2.5 years, is the cost of being ready. So in a year where, like this year, we didn't have significant standby. Last year, we had a whole bunch of standby that we had to pay for. That's not cost recoverable by the province. So this year, if we'd had, say, the stabilization fund in place last year, that money wouldn't get touched. On a year where we have a high activation, then I'd have to come back to the board and say, we had to dip into our stabilization fund this year. I would request of the board to either allocate surplus from a prior year to replenish that stabilization fund, or that we need to go to taxation to requisition in order to re-establish that fund.
Thank you. Good. Director Weatherhead?
Thank you, through the chair. Just trying to make the connection to these core services and the requisitioned amounts and the variance is just noticing customary case quite a bit higher with other areas. Is there just a quick and easy reason for that as to?
It's assessment based. So whatever the assessments that are coming back from those areas are how the split is set. So
assessment from 2020.
In this case, it's 2025. It will be updated to 2026. So the splits are going to look different once we get the assessments, but those aren't out yet because of how we're doing the budgets this year. So I actually don't know when we get those usually, but once we do get them, those will get adjusted. And so all the S157 to 163 will reflect their accurate.
Thank you.
Okay. So directors, I do want to honor public time. And I think this is the beginning of our budget conversation. So I think we're good right now. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Complex service, good work. So I'm now going to see if there's anyone online that would like to ask us a question, media and or the public. Feel free to unmute and ask your question. Again, just in case it takes a moment. Okay, I don't think there's anyone in the room. It's all staff in the room. Well, then there we go. Okay, thank you very much. Any last burning questions for Dan? You got a minute. Yeah, go ahead, Graham.
Put in clarification, Dan, just circling back to Director Jackson's question with regards to the reserves. So were you saying, just so that I can understand here, you're saying that these reserves you would then minus out this 176,644 and offer the accumulated operating surplus? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not following you. Can you say that again?
Okay, so when we were talking about these large increases to the reserves, which weren't planned for in the financial plan, right? So now they are there, which I also caught. And I'm just trying to understand when you were saying, is it this, are we minusing out these accumulated operating surplus? Is that what we were doing when you were saying it's actually less?
I'm not following on the minus.
Okay, I'm not on here.
Sorry.
We can take it off.
But the idea
Yeah.
is that
We can take it off.
so the 5-year plan, what I would offer is the 5-year plan, whatever was in there in terms of surpluses, is not accurate. So because it's shifted, in the 5-year plan, it doesn't differentiate what is an operational surplus, which I can get a handle on, and I can understand that, versus what is grant funded and is purely project based. So those two things aren't differentiated within our 5-year plan. Everything rolls forward as the prior year surplus. That's why this kind of side spreadsheet is what I was trying to offer as a way of differentiating between those two things. So, it's very difficult to know what the 5-year plan is going to be because we get a new grant, we finish a grant, and so on. So that's what I was trying to offer with the spreadsheet. And I can swap that perspective.
Do you want to add to that?
No, but to the chair's okay. I can.
Okay. Okay, let's break for lunch. Thanks, everybody.
Terrible. Have fun.
Yeah, Chair, we can hear everything online that's being discussed in the room.
Got it.
Recording stopped.